Journalism integrity or media integrity. Whereabouts do we draw the line is the question. Now, this is something that I've really tried to figure out. Over the years, I've been a member of, well, I don't know. I don't even know if I'd consider myself a true journalist or whatnot, or even really a media member, but I play the part. And the question that it's not a question that I always see or a question that people ask. I know I've seen my buddy James Lynch. If you haven't seen, I did an episode of the MMA Industry podcast earlier this week, and it was a hell of a fun time. So check that out on James Lynch's YouTube channel, Lynch on Sports, and I'm the latest guest on the MMA Industry podcast. Also, make sure you check out Slappy's up there. I'll have it in the description below, but it's the best vodka soda mix on the market. And yeah, like I said, media and journalism integrity. It's not a question that gets talked about a lot, but like I said, James Lynch has put out a post or maybe a YouTube video about how to be an MMA journalist or how to be an MMA media member and what to do and all those kind of things. But I don't think acting as a media member is as black and white as people think it should be. And I've seen a lot of posts on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, that I think are crossing the line when guys feel like they want to be journalists and they want to be media members. And it's the line where you go from media member or journalist to being a fan or being a fanboy. And I know back when I've gone to UFC events and I've covered UFC events as a media member, I've gone to Bellator, I've gone to a number of promotions, and when they hand you your lanyard with your credentials, on the back of it, it gives you the do's and don'ts basically. And it says one thing is that you never take, you don't take photos with fighters. You don't clap for the fighters. You don't cheer for the fighters. And that's something I've seen recently on Instagram are people posting about certain fighters and how they're going to win or how they should win and whatnot. And don't get me wrong, as I said, as a media member, it's not black and white. There is a gray zone, and you can write about or do videos about who you think should win fights. But there's a difference between writing about who you think should win fights and saying that fighters are going to win because they're the best and are going to win because you're friends with them and are going to win because their team is the best. It's infuriating to me to see people go out of their way to post about said fighter, this guy. And again, there's a difference between writing about why a fighter's skill set, skill set A, B, C is better than said fighter's skill set A, B, C. When you're going in the cage with fighters and taking pictures with them, when you're saying their coaches are the best, when you're walking to the cage with fighters, when you're cheering rah rah sis boom bah for said fighters and teams, that's where you draw the line. That's where journalism integrity is sort of a false. It shouldn't happen that way. As a media member, you sit there on Media Row, if you're on Media Row, behind your computer, and you type about fighters, and you predict why they should win, not because you're a fan. Not because you're a fanboy. Again, photos, media members are not supposed to take photos with fighters with, fists up in the air. or no, all that kind of stuff. It's not supposed to happen. They're supposed to be media members. They're supposed to be unbiased, or as little biasness as possible. It's just the way it is. I don't know. You can comment below. You can leave a comment. And as this says, make sure you like the video, comment, share, subscribe, do all the rest. But it drives me bonkers. And I was tagged on Instagram the other day, and like, I wish the best for people who want to become media members. And I wish, like I said to James Lynch, I said, you know what? My end goal, it's not even an end goal. My immediate goal for MMA Suck is for the people that I have working for me to reach their absolute best. And I truly mean that. If guys end up writing for me and they move on to bigger and better things like ESPN or MMA Fighting or any of these other outlets, then that's truly my goal for this whole MMA thing. It's not even about me. It's about you guys and the people that are writing for me. That's what I care about. That's what I want to happen. But journalism integrity, holy crap. It's one thing to take off your cap and be a fan for the day or for the night. Like, I live in Vancouver, BC, and I've been a part of this game since 2009. I've trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu since 2006. I've been around for a long time in this space. And I know that, I've trained with a lot of the local fighters. So I'm legitimately friends with them. But you will never see on my personal channel or MMA Sucka's personal YouTube or Instagram me being a fan. But if I go to Battlefield Fight League, or I see my friends fighting in the UFC or Bellator or whatnot, then I'll take off my media cap and I'll sit back and I'll be a fan and I'll enjoy the fights. But will I post about it? Probably not, because that's where we draw that line. And it's a line that, recently the MMA media space has completely changed. And, MMA media gets such a bad rap. It really, really does. It gets a bad rap because they're towing the company line and they ask the UFC questions that, very blasé questions that anybody can ask and answer. The MMA media space gets a bad rap because people think that they're not true journalists and they toe the company line. They're worried about losing their media credentials to the UFC, which for a lot of people is completely true. So that's one big hiccup in this. So very tough when it comes to that. And also, the media space has completely changed over the last 4 or 5 years since this YouTube media side of things came into play, where it's not just interviews and it's sort of commentary and whatnot. And, we have guys like Full Send who are backing fighters and, following them along and following their journey, which isn't a bad thing, but it's a different side of MMA journalism where it's not necessarily, again, being a fanboy, because it's not. They are doing it for their own media gain instead of their personal gain. And I think media gain over personal gain is completely different. So make sure you understand that. This has been me talking for far too long, but I feel like the media game, people who want a space in this media industry really need to understand that you need to, if you're going to be a media member or a journalist, which, I'm sure, call me a media member, call me a journalist. I will go to events as a media member, but I'll also take my hat off and be a fan of my friends. But again, like I said, I am not going to be posting about it. I am not going to be sharing anything about it. I might share stuff that they've shared, but I'm not writing over it and saying, woohoo, stuff like that. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to go in depth, say that I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that. It just doesn't sit well with me. Because if you, I want to look up what journalism, like, I'm going to go here onto Google and journalist definition. So if I screen share and I show you what a journalist is, the definition on Merriam-Webster's dictionary is a person engaged in journalism, which is obvious, a writer or editor for a news medium, and B, a writer who aims at a mass audience. And if you're aiming at a mass audience, again, you should not be aiming as a fan. You are a media member and your voice matters. So I'll leave it at that and I'll end it at that. It's been a lot of me saying the exact same stuff over and over again. But like that video, the little widget that was down right there, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell to know when I have videos drop. And I'd really, really, really love you to comment on this and explain to people what you think a media member is and why the MMA media game sucks. Does it for me. I'll be back hopefully tomorrow with another video, but this was a long rant, and I'm out.